Yeah, I'm ready to go. On time? All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Morning, everyone. Hope you're all enjoying your Saturday so far. My name is Mikami, and today I will be doing Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. The category I'm running today is called Medallion Stones Trials, or shortened to become MST. I've run this category before, actually, at ASM in AvCon 2 years ago. But since then, the route has actually changed quite significantly. So I'm actually excited to showcase what some of the changes are. So the reason the category is called Medallion Stones Trials is because it pretty much forces us to get all the medallions that you would get from the temples as Adult Link, all the stones that you would get from the child dungeons as Child Link, and then do all the mini rooms at the end at Ganon's Castle, which we call Trials. And it's basically saying we have to do each of those, we can't skip anything. So it's almost like 100%, except the category is not as long. 100% is about a 4-ish hour category. This category here is probably about 2 hours, so we're going to be doing a lot less, but it's still going to be pretty full on. So fingers crossed it all goes well. The first thing a lot of people notice is that I'm playing in Japanese. The reason I'm playing in Japanese is because text speed is a lot faster in the Japanese language of the game. Because this game shows it takes 1 frame to show each character, you can actually say more for less in the Japanese language, so this text here goes really quickly along with all the others. It's not so bad for this category, but for like 100%, for example, it's estimated that you save around 20 minutes just on text speed alone, between if you played English or Japanese. So something really interesting to note is that every time I'm mashing through text and I see a blue box, it means I'm not mashing fast enough. If you see a blue box, it means you've wasted like a frame at least. Now, it doesn't really matter for the category I'm running, but for the shortest category, like any percent, they basically count it down to frames. So anytime they see a blue box, they kind of get a little bit nervous. I don't have to worry about that, thankfully, but I guess it's something to appreciate. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is pick up the Kikiri sword. Now, throughout this run, I'm going to be doing a combination of backwalking, rolling, and side hopping. I'll rarely be moving forward without doing any one of those. Now, the reason for that is backwalking and side hopping are the fastest forms of movement in this game. And how we determine whether we want to backwalk or just roll or even side hop, it depends on the distance and the direction we have to go. So in this maze, it's kind of like a boxy sort of scenario, and if it's a kind of a box grid layout, it's better just to backwalk and side hop. But if the direction you have to go in is kind of like a curve, it's better just to keep rolling and then retargeting to adjust your camera. So you see me do a combination of that. So I've just picked up the Kikiri sword, and I'm just gonna skedaddle out of here now. So normally when you play through this game like quote-unquote casually, the first thing you want to do is grab the Kikiri sword, buy a Deku shield, and head onto the Deku tree. But we're actually going to be escaping the forest like really, really early. So, coming here is a trick that we've got called Forest Escape. There's I guess kind of like a stone pillar entrance that we have here. that you normally can dive down once you get the silver scale. But there's actually part of the block that isn't programmed properly, and if you get the right angle, you can clip through like that, and the loading zone extends all the way up. So normally you get the silver scale, you swim down and hit the loading zone, but it's programmed to actually be all the way up. So because you can clip into that stone pillar, all we have to do is just swim into the loading zone, and now we're in Zora's River. And the reason I want to escape early is because I need a few items before I visit Deku Tree. Well, in particular, one item. And I'm going to go to Kakariko Village to get that item. There's a red rupee I need here. And I'm collecting these rupees here because in order to get the Deku Shield, it costs 40 rupees. So swimming through Zora's River thankfully increases our rupee count. So I got another trick coming up here. Now this is called a water extended super slide, or a WES. So what I did there was get a specific angle off the wall and then do a jump slash. And then as you jump slash, Link goes through the water and builds up a fair bit of backwards momentum. But if I hold a very specific position on my controller called ESS position, you're able to keep that backwards momentum going until you let that position go. Now the reason I did that was because A, it's a lot quicker to move about, and also there's an owl right above Kakariko Village that if I wasn't to do that water extender super slide, the owl would actually talk to me, and it cost me about 5 seconds. Now the reason the owl didn't interact with me is because when you do a water extender super slide, it puts Link into a busy state, and when he's in a busy state, NPCs can't interact with him. So here I'm collecting all the cuckoos because I want to get a bottle. Now there's actually 4 bottles you can get in this game. One of them is this one. The other one is by collecting the cuckoos in Lun Lun Ranch when you wake up Talon and he gives you Lun Lun milk. The other one is by getting the letter in the bottle in Lake Hylia. And the other one is Adult Link after getting all the big pose. Now out of all those 4 bottles, this is easily the most accessible one really early on without any restrictions, which is why we're getting this one. Now these cuckoos are actually quite random in how they move, but there is some sort of manipulation we can do with them. They start roughly in the same area, so we kind of know where to look for them. But then how they move after Kakariko Village is loaded is kind of random. But there is some consistency in the sense that whenever we throw a cuckoo and it bounces up and down on the ground a few times and it runs away from Link. So in some sense, we have some form of control over them once we pick one up and throw it. So all the movement that I'm doing here is in some sense planned because I'm trying to get them as close to the pen as possible. So if I... Now, aggroing a cuckoo or chicken there used to give me nightmares when I was growing up, and it still kind of does because they can get pretty full on. But that was intentional, just to get them closer to the pen like this. Now we talk to Andrew and she gives us the bottle. Now here's a fun fact. If you talk to Andrew on the exact same frame the last cuckoo lands in the pen, the game kind of locks and she doesn't give you the bottle, which means you have to exit and do the cuckoo quest all over again. I've done that a couple of times and it's not fun. But thankfully it didn't happen there. Alright, so now I've got bottle, put bugs in there, and I'm going to save and reset. And this is what's called save warping. So save warping is basically just saving and resetting the game, and then it takes you to a certain place. If you're in a dungeon, it will take you to the beginning of the dungeon. But if you're in the overworld, or anywhere that's not a dungeon, if you're Adult Link, it'll put you in the Temple of Time. And if you're Child Link, it'll put you in Link's house. Which is convenient for me, because the next destination I need to go is Deku Tree. Yep, go for it. Now, something weird can happen here, because I'm playing on the Wii Virtual Console version. Sometimes in the Kokiri shop, if you equip Deku's shield, it can just crash, and thankfully it didn't happen there. I don't know why it happens, but it's happened to me like twice ever in the 4 years I've been doing this, so it's a pretty good success rate, but nevertheless, it can happen. So we get past Mido because we've got the sword and shield. There is a way you can get past Mido without sword and shield, but it's way more precise and not really worth going for here. If you want to do some donations, go for it. But just for those who just joined us, welcome. Hope you're having a good Saturday. My name's Mikami, and we are doing some Ocarina of Time. Okay, so now we're in the Deku Tree. Even though this is the first dungeon in this game, it's actually one of the more technical dungeons in terms of a speedrun, in terms of the tricks we do and how we execute them. There's a lot of really precise things we got to do, and it can actually cost us a lot of time if we screw them up, but I'll play them relatively safe just for the sake of a marathon, because I don't want to push us too far back if I screw up. Hopefully not. Hopefully it all just works out well, but, you know, wishful thinking. Gotta be careful with these guys. They can get pretty aggro sometimes. It's alright. Sweet. Alright, so that's what's called B1 skip. Just skips the first basement. Sweet. So that's what's called quick scrubs. To get to the next room where Queen Goma is, you need to hit the scrubs in the specific order of 2, 3, 1. But with the way I moved through there, it loaded them in a very specific pattern, and I was able to hit them like one after the other. That's actually quite annoying to do, and I'm more used to screwing it up than getting it successfully, so I'm glad that happened. Alright, so Goma's coming up here. Now, we're actually going to kill her in a way that's going to look quite weird, but trust me, it saves time, so that's why we do a lot of things in this game, just to save time. So I got something there called ISG, or Infinite Sword Glitch. It means my weapon's active for every frame. I'll explain some other stuff in just a sec. Sweet. Ah, damn it. That didn't work. So what happened there was, I was trying to listen out for an audio cue of when Goma would land. But I moved a little bit too late, so just gonna try again. I'll turn the TV up a little bit more. So we get ISG again. Weapons active for every frame. But it's got some other unique properties. That's why this Goma clip trick works, where we can clip through the door on a very specific frame. Next one. So pausing and unpausing here does something called pause buffering. Trying to advance the game frame by frame. There we go. Sweet. So that's killing Goma like through the door, because my Deku Stick is kind of poking through the door, and because I got that trick called Infinite Sword Glitch, it means that Deku Stick is active for every possible frame. And the reason I had to wait a little bit is because I needed Goma to move closer to the door before I stun Goma and then kill. Now the reason we did all that is because we actually need access to the door I just went through. But with that stone slab that falls, I normally don't have access to it. But by doing that Goma clip trick, it actually removes that stone slab and allows me to enter through that door. I'll do a safety save here in case things go wrong. Hopefully not. Now, yeah, there's a very specific reason why we need access to that door. We're going to be doing something called a wrong warp. As the name suggests, we're going to be warping to somewhere where we shouldn't go. Okay, looks good so far. If this works, I should end up somewhere I shouldn't be. Cool. So that's called a wrong warp, and instead of entering back into the scrub room, I was in Ganon's castle. Now, in the any percent category of this game, we will just run through the door on the other side and proceed to the end of the game. But for this category, we've got a fair bit more to do. There was actually a lot involved with that trick, so as it approaches again, I will explain it when I can, because I'll be doing a fair few more wrong warps in this category. So now we're in one of these other rooms. The reason I'm here is because I actually need to get a specific item at the end of this room. I think that's good. So we get ISG again. Now, one of the good things about getting Infinite Sword Glitch, or ISG, is that if you were to shield damage mid-air, it actually enables you to hover just for a tiny bit. And if you're a certain height above the ground, it will just let you hover indefinitely. And we're able to use that hover just to gain a bit of extra height on certain tricks. So we got those bomb shoes there. We'll need them basically throughout the run from now on. I'm going to hit this switch because I could hit that switch whenever, but a lot of runners tend to make the mistake of not saving one bomb chew for that section. And then so when they come to this room at the final part of the game, which we will revisit later, they realize they can't hit that switch. So we just hit it now just like as a don't forget. So that damage I took there was intentional. I'll explain why later. So we're going to exit Ganon's castle now. But even though we're technically Child Link, when we exit Ganon's castle, it'll put us where it thinks we need to be, which is actually Hyrule Castle as Child Link, which is perfect because the next thing I need to do is talk to Zelda. Now, these guards can either be like insanely snipey or not doing their job well enough. So fingers crossed they decide to slack off today and not get their bonus. So I normally play these guards pretty safe. If you side hop here frame perfectly, the guards will not see you. But I can't side hop frame perfectly, so I just play it semi-safe. Just gotta wait for this guy to move. Here's something interesting. If you pull a Deku stick and you roll into Zelda while you mash, and mash A to talk to her, you shove a stick in her face. It's just why not? Just a short little Easter egg. But basically how that wrong warp worked was, it's actually very, very complicated, but it's to do with a lot of memory manipulation, telling the game to take us here, but then setting the initial value something else. It's a lot of jiggery pokery, but we'll be doing that a lot. Yep, we have time for donations.
We have an $11.31 donation from Wukong Media. It says, "My dude MikamiHero, good luck with the run."
Thank you.
And we have a $21.62 donation from Kaya4114. Which says, "Hey Mika, is this a randomizer?" Anyway, here's a random amount of money for this great cause. Love MST, best category, yeah?
Yeah.
GL with the run, and know that me and all the mods love you. Good luck, mate.
Thanks, Kaya.
All the mods, that is.
Kaya's one of my mods. And there's a bit of a meme that goes on in my stream. What's really taken off in our Zelda speedrun community is doing randomizers. If anyone doesn't know what a randomizer is, it's basically just a way to play the game where everything's set up to be random, what items you get, where you get those items, and things like that. Now, it's kind of taken the speedrun community by storm. I'm personally not too keen on it. I don't know why, but it's just a big meme now. Every time someone comes into my chat, they're like, "Hi, Mikami, when's rando?" And it drives me semi-insane, but it's a good meme. I might do a randomizer one day. I don't know. It just doesn't interest me. If you guys have questions, I've got a bit of time. If anyone's got questions, just shout them out and I'll see if I can hear it. If not, then we good. When's rando? Never. Never. So the reason we're talking to Zelda here is because we actually need to get Zelda's Lullaby. And we need to get Zelda's Lullaby and use it in certain parts of the run. Now, I actually named this file name ASM 2019. It's actually more optimal to name your file name just one character, because the maximum number of characters you can have for your name is 8. And if you use the full 8 as opposed to one character, every time you see the file name, it wastes an extra 7 frames. And because this game runs at about 20 frames per second, if you see your name, an 8-letter file name 3 times, you've wasted a second over someone who uses a 1-letter file name. Okay, so that death was intentional. I died and then got pushed into the Zelda's Lullaby cutscene. And as a result, I skipped the cutscene, but I still get the song. So we'll be doing that, I think, another time in this run. So now we just talk to Impa, and she'll just put us out in the front of Hyrule Castle. So I didn't have to watch the cutscene, but I still got the reward, so that's always good. And that's pretty much it for Child Link. I've done everything I can. Well, there's more you could do as Child Link, but optimally for this route, I've done everything I can. And we're actually going to become Adult Link. Now, normally to become Adult Link, you need to finish all the child dungeons, Deku Tree, Dodongo's Cavern, and Jabu's Belly, get the Song of Time, and then open the stone slab by playing the Song of Time. But the stone slab that's blocking us, which we call the Door of Time, actually isn't programmed properly. There's actually a small gap that we can actually abuse by doing something called a backwards side hop. And it enables us to skip this door. It's actually one of the biggest sequence breaks I got found when speedrunning was becoming a thing. Oops. There we go. So yeah, basically the reason that works is because of poor programming. There's a really tiny gap that they didn't program up and enabled us to get through it. So I used something called a backwards side hop to clip through the gap. But if I didn't do anything after that, I would just fall and void. But on a specific frame, I jump / back in bounds, and that enabled me to get through the stone slab. And now I become Adult Link. Any donations, Kieran? Go ahead. You got a question? Yeah, sure. What's the question? Yes, so the question in chat was, does the category involve getting every medallion, stone, and trial? And the answer is yes. And another restriction we've got with this category is we're not able to do any form of item manipulation, because there is a weird set of glitches in this game that enable you to write items into your inventory, change item amounts in your inventory. And with that, we're actually able to write medallions into our inventory without actually getting them from the dungeon. So there's actually a category called All Medallions, where you get all the medallions, but you only literally play through one dungeon completely. So as a result, you could, in theory, get all the medallions without stepping foot in a single... You have to step foot in one dungeon. And that would kind of defeat the purpose of this category. So as a result, they set a rule of saying no item manipulation whatsoever. And then that kind of forces us to go through each of the dungeons and get the medallions in a legit sense. So one of the questions I've always had with Adult Link is, how does he have a piercing now? Because he's been asleep for 7 years, and then all of a sudden he wakes up with a left ear piercing. It's one of those unanswered questions that I don't think will ever get answered, to be honest. Some interesting trivia about this category I'm running here, MST. It's actually one of the oldest categories that we've got that hasn't had a big significant rule change. And what I mean by that is, over the last 4 years since I started speedrunning this game, there's been a lot of new glitches found, and as a result, as they got introduced into categories, they've had to make adjustments to the categories, the definitions, how they're run, what's allowed, what's not allowed. But out of all of those, MST has somehow survived that huge torrent of changes, and the route has changed, but the rules around the category haven't changed. And I think that's a reason why I like it so much, is that its rule set has remained very, very consistent. If you guys have any questions as well, just shout them out because I've got a bit of time. It's been good. I went for a run this morning, so I feel awake. But just as a reminder, we are raising money for Beyond Blue. I think we've raised about 5K so far. So for those of you who have donated already, thank you very much. And if you haven't and you can spare some change, please do. It's a great cause. Another question for me? Yeah, sure. Is getting the Master Sword part of the run? Yes. The reason for that is there's a lot of things that are much easier to do as adult Link than child Link. There is, funny you mentioned that though, there is actually a category in this game called Max % Child where it tries to push the game as far as possible, doing things as only child Link. It may sound like a meme, but it's actually a ridiculously difficult category. I've never done a run of it myself. I would like to try it, but it's like a 4-5 hour run and there's some ridiculous things you got to do. Maybe one day if I have enough balls, I'll try it, but we'll see. Okay, so the stone slab is still there, but if I save and reset, if you're adult Link and you're not in a dungeon, saving and resetting puts you in the Temple of Time, and it puts me on the other side of the stone slab, which is perfect because otherwise I wouldn't be able to get out. Okay, so now the first part of Adult Link is just a bit of a slight collectathon, but not so much. We're just going to need a few items. Well, actually, we still need to get one item, and then after that, we're making our way to the very first dungeon, which will be Shadow Temple. Which is funny, because Shadow Temple, I guess if you play through this game casually, is meant to be one of the last ones you do. But in a speedrun, a lot of the times when we go Adult Link, it's actually one of the first dungeons we do. Except if you run glitchless, in which case I think it's Forest Temple? No. I haven't run the glitchless category in a while, but it's definitely not Shadow Temple. So here you see me just back walking because the direction I have to go is, you know, relatively straight. So as a result, I can just turn around and back walk. Sometimes you'll see me roll because it's kind of a curvy direction I have to go. In which case I'll just keep rolling and maybe have to retarget my camera if I have to. But I hope you're all having a good Saturday so far. Hope you're going to have a good weekend as well. And if it's your first time at AvCon, hope you enjoy it. If you repeat like I am, soak it all in again, guys. So we're coming into this grave because I need to get the Master's Shield. Hylian Shield, rather, sorry. Because I don't have a shield yet. And now we're going to go into Dampé's grave to race Dampé. Sorry? Sure.
Now, just a reminder, we do have some donation incentives still not met. So if you'd like to put your money towards any of those, just let me know in the comment on your donation. And let's see if we can meet those incentives.
Thanks, Neo. Dampé. So this Dampé race can be a little bit trolly because of the oh! Thanks, Dampé. That can happen sometimes. This Dampé race is really trolly because where he pegs those flames is relatively random. Now, a good Dampé race is considered getting a time of 47. It is possible to get a 46, which I've done a couple of times, but it doesn't happen too often. Oops. That's definitely not going to be a 47 now. This section is really just about movement and avoiding his flames. And the reason I avoided there is because he knocked me back into the door, and the door crushed me. Doesn't happen too often either, but when it does, it's you can't really do much about it. You just kind of shake your head and go, ah, damn pay. Ugh. My health is a little bit low as well, so I might have to see if there's a heart in the bushes before I proceed to Shadow Temple. Because there's one trick I used to get into Shadow Temple, and I take fall damage, but I can never remember whether I take a quarter of a heart or half a heart. Now the reason that's important is because in order to exit from Danpei's grave after getting the hook shot here, the way I do it actually takes away one heart, so I just won't take that risk. So we got the hook shot there. And the way we get out of here is we side up into here and side up back out, and it voids us. And because we voided, it takes away one heart. I think one of these chests has... Nope, never mind. Alright, so my health is low, so I need to peruse through these bushes and see if there's any health. Otherwise, it could be a bit disastrous. A fairy. That'll do. Actually, that probably wasn't the... Never mind. I was going to say, that probably wasn't the best scenario. Because now I'm actually on too much health. But I can work with this. So normally to enter the Shadow Temple, you need the Nocturne of Shadow. I'm going to be doing something here called a hookshot jump. I can never remember the specifics of why this trick works. But it just kind of does. So I'm on this ledge here, and then I just got ISG again. Now, another property of getting ISG is that it means I can't fall off certain seams. Now, if I didn't have ISG here, if I walked past this seam, I'd fall off, which is why I got it. Now, because of the way we enter here, it actually doesn't load the Shadow Temple entrance completely. So as a result, we can just kind of skedaddle our way through. Normally, you'd need something like Din's Fire or Fire Arrows to light all the torches, and then the door would open. So now we're at Shadow Temple. Like I said, I'm on a bit too much health, but I can make this work if I remember something right at the end. Oops. Now we fight Dead Hand. To this day, this boss still kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies. I think it gave a lot of people the creeps when they were growing up. Not so much the boss itself, but when it dies, you'll see what I mean. Look at how wide he opens his mouth. I don't know, that always looked really painful to me, so yeah. Alright, cool. So Dead Hand's done. And now we get hover boots. Now, once you get hover boots normally, you're meant to exit through this area, ride the boat that's at the bottom of the Shadow Temple, and ride it across the chasm. But we're going to be doing something called boat skip. And fingers crossed it works out. I'll do a safety save here, just in case. Fingers crossed we can pull it off. Cool. One more frame. Sweet. Sweet. And we're now onto the final boss. That's actually quite scary because that room I was in before where there was no textures loaded is the room right before Bongo Bongo. But what's scary about that is there's only certain parts of the room where you can actually stand on a platform and not void. Otherwise, you would void and you'd be back up right at the top. So navigating that room blind is actually not my favorite thing to do, but thankfully we got consistent setups for it. So now he's going to fight Bongo. The way we fight him is pretty cheese. We get ISG again, hookshot his hands, wait for him to charge us, and there we go. Now the reason that works is because when I got ISG, it's technically stored in Link's left shoulder, which is why I shuffled to the right. So when Bongo charged me, his eye hit Link's left shoulder and just kept hitting him over and over and over. Okay, so now Bongo's dead. This will enable us to get the Shadow Medallion, but we're going to be doing it using a cutscene skip, where kind of like what we did with Zelda's Lullaby. We'll get the item, but not have to watch the cutscene associated with it.
I'd just like to remind everyone that we're being hosted by Avcom this year, and a huge thanks to them for hosting us year after year, and making this all possible. We're also raising money for Beyond Blue. It's a great cause, so let's get some donations in, guys.
Thanks, Neo. So here I'm trying to do a cutscene skip. I haven't done this adjustment in a while, and by adjustment I mean, depending on how much health Link has when he does this trick, it changes the setup ever so slightly. So fingers crossed this works out. Oh, if I see a white flash, I'll know that it worked. Sweet. So there's 3 possible outcomes that could happen with that. You either see a white flash and you're at the start of the dungeon, or you've warped somewhere, like, that you're not meant to go. That's intentional. That means you got it. The other outcome is you see the white flash, but you end up seeing the cutscene associated, like when you're in the Chamber of Sages. That means you loaded too many frames of the blue warp. And the worst outcome is you end up at the start of the dungeon, but you don't see the white flash. That means you didn't load enough frames, and you actually have to do that section all over again. So thankfully that worked out. Oops. Okay, so now Shadow Temple is done. The next dungeon we're actually going to do is Dodongo's Cavern, but before then, we've got a little bit of a collectathon to do, just certain items we need to make the rest of the run a little bit easier. So I'm just dumping my bugs here because I don't need them anymore. And we're going to get a fish instead. So I just duped over my Deku Nuts there to get myself a second bottle with a fish in it. Now, I used to ask a lot of questions about, like, why is that not considered item manipulation? And I think the justification is, and this actually does happen, if I were to get Deku Nuts again, it would overwrite that bottle with a fish in it. So we're easily able to revert that, which I think is a reason why it's allowed. But either way, so now I've got fish and a fairy in a bottle. So now we're just able to keep going. Okay, so this is Death Mountain Trail right here. There's something I can do at the beginning that if I can pull it off will actually save a fair bit of time. Fingers crossed it works out. Sweet. This is called Hyperextended Super Slide. Kind of like what I did at the beginning of the run with Child Link and doing it through the water. The Hyperextended Super Slide uses like an explosion to get your knockback. And doing a hyperextended super slide is actually pretty much the fastest way to move through the game if you have explosives. And doing that saves about, I think, 10 seconds as opposed to just rolling up normally. So I'm going to stop this Goron here, which I call Chatty Goron, because I'm going to get Goron's tunic. You don't have to get this tunic, and in this route that I run here, it only wastes about 30 seconds to get this tunic. But for the sake of a marathon, it's going to be way safer. If we have any donations, Neo, feel free to go ahead. And he's a chatty Goron because he actually has a lot of text involved. Go on. Sweet.
We have a $10.95 donation from Dustpan, who says, okay. Thanks very much.
Just says okay. Fair. Okay. Actually, on the note of text speed, there's something that's been developed lately in our Ocarina of Time community. We've been calling it Ocarina of Time Faster Quest. It's essentially just a ROM hack where text speed is instantaneous and cutscenes can be pretty much eliminated. And we've been using, or I've been personally using that a lot to do my practice runs at home because it cuts a category like this that I'm doing here, like 2 hours. It shaves it down to like potentially like 1 hour and 25 minutes. And it may not seem like much, but getting 40 minutes back and then having that to either do another run or do some other things is actually quite nice. And it's been really beneficial for me personally for practice. But obviously for a marathon, come on. There. So that was just getting ISG off the sign instead of using an enemy. See if I can pull this off. Sweet. So that this is basically skipping the Bolero of Fire cutscene, where Sheik will talk to us, but I avoid it at the same time. Now that trick there actually brought about a lot of grief for me at one point when I was learning it at the very beginning, because there's a lot of misconceptions about how that trick actually worked, and oops, no one was able to give me like a clear-cut, precise reason of why it would fail sometimes. So I remember there was about a space of like, I think 3 days where I was just trying to debug how that trick actually worked and what consistencies we could find. And we did end up finding stuff, which is good because consistency is always nice in a speedrun. Okay, so here I'm going to get magic, which is why I need to get Zelda's Lullaby in the first place. Now here I'm actually going to be playing a fake ocarina, which we call ocarina items. So I'll be using the bottle here. Now, how Ocarina Items works is, with that fish in a bottle that I had, let's say I was to backflip and then push the bottle button midair, it would buffer the input. So when Link lands, it would register the last input that he used. In this case, he would dump the fish onto the ground or use whatever's in the bottle. But if you push the bottle button and then like another input that doesn't have an animation associated to it, like sword, hook shot, Deku stick, bombs, bomb chew, the game doesn't know what to do because there's no animation associated to a sword, bombs and stuff like that. So it plays the default animation, which in this case is an ocarina, which is really convenient for us because it behaves exactly like a normal ocarina. If you have the songs, you can play them. And that's the reason why I'm able to do the wrong warps and all the cutscene skips, because normally when you hit a blue warp, the game basically takes control away from the player and Link walks into the warp and it plays a cutscene. But by using ocarina items on the very edge of a blue warp, we're able to cancel out of it and able to manipulate how many frames a blue warp ticks over and therefore manipulate like where we warp to. So that's a mega side hop there. The reason I did that is just trying to... This is just a much bigger way to get into the Dongo's Cavern. Landing on this space here, if I can pull it off correctly. Yeah, we're good. Yep, 1 sec. No. Someone in chat asked, if I finish early, can I do a rando? The answer is no. Okay, so I'm going to save and reset here. The reason I'm doing that is this next dungeon here, at the end of it, I'm going to be doing a wrong warp. And in order for the wrong warp to work, the last cutscene we have to watch is actually very specific. And one of the cutscenes that makes it work is watching this intro right here. If I didn't do that and I tried to do the wrong warp, the game would actually crash. I found that out the hard way the very first time I did it. And I was like, oh. I asked around and people go, this is what you're meant to do. I was like, uh-huh. The more I learn. Okay, so we're kind of low on explosives here. We've only got 11 bomb shoes left. So we actually need to get the bomb bag here. But normally to get the bomb bag, it actually is a bit of an effort. But there's a reason why I got the bottled fairy from before. If I can make this work. Oops. Actually, hang on. That might be a bit too far over. We'll find out. No, it worked. Cool. So what happened there was I died on the exact same frame as my hook shot hit the ladder. And as a result, it took the momentum and flew me upwards. Now, the bridge only has one-way collision detection, which is from the top, because they never expect you to come from below. So that's why I was able to clip through the bridge. And I got that fairy from earlier to revive me just for that trick alone. And just gives a massive portion of Dodongo's cavern. Enabled us to get the bomb bag early. So the reason the bomb bag is useful is because it's actually a refillable explosive. Like, if I were to farm through bushes and rocks, they could yield me bombs. Whereas bomb shoes you can only either get from chests or certain shops. But those certain shops are pretty much inaccessible for us in this run. So now the eyes are lit. Okay, so I take that heart there intentionally. So I'm dropping the fish and picking it up again because I will need to use Ocarina items. It's actually got some really other weird properties. One of them is, if I can pull it off, if an Ocarina item's onto a switch, it actually delays it resetting. If it's a switch that, when you press it down, it comes back up eventually. Okay, so now we're going to fight King Dodongo. This is probably one of the more easier bosses, but I have jinxed myself, so I guess I won't say too much. Thanks, Midge. I've jinxed myself before. I've said this is easy, and then I die. I'm like, oh, never mind. Is this made of wood? Touch wood. Yeah, there's wood. It's wood. Fake wood. Oh, no. So this damage here I'm taking is also intentional, which is why I took a heart from the Beamos just to speed up the process. Sweet. Okay, we didn't screw up, which is good. Yeah. No screw up, which is nice. Okay. Huh? You weren't worried, Raikou? Thank you. Okay, this next trick upcoming is actually kind of scary. It's what's called Dodongo's Cavern Wrong Warp, or DC Wrong Warp. It's one of the more precise ones we have to do, and it's actually a pretty big bottleneck for a lot of new runners when they run this category. But hopefully with the experience that I've had, it should be okay. Okay, looks good. The reason that one is scary is because I need to actually do those pause buffers on very specific frames of the bomb flashes. So when you're starting out with this category, counting those flashes is quite spooky. But that works, sweet. Thanks, Midge. Eventually, you just kind of develop a rhythm for counting those bomb flashes, but when I was starting out, I was pause buffering like every single frame just to check. Okay, so that wrong warp took us to Gerudo Valley. Well, Gerudo's Fortress to be more specific. This is really, really handy for us, because the next place we're going to go is Spirit Temple. So, we get that rupee there for later. So normally to skip this gate, or rather get through this gate, you have to free all the carpenters and then you get the Gerudo card. Whoops. I'll try that again. Small time loss here, but nothing too major. I just need to get caught again. There's actually a way we can skip through this gate without having to do the side quest of freeing the carpenters and getting the Gerudo card. There we go. And we're just going to walk from the other side. Alright, screw this sign. There's no reason why, I just hit that sign out of habit. It probably wastes time, but I've done it for so long I can't not do it, like an OCD thing. Never mind. I was going to do something there called, I was going to do another hyperextended super slide there, or a Hess. If I do it through the first half of this wasteland, it saves about 20 seconds. But I also got to be really careful with my explosive count, that I don't waste too many bombs. Whoops. Hang on. It's been so long since I've traversed through this way normally that I can't remember how to traverse through it normally, believe it or not. I've done the hyperextended super slide way like so long now that... Oh, there we go, we're good. It scared me a little bit. So normally if I'd gotten that Hess properly, it would put me like right here, and then I would just roll through the wasteland like normal. When you play through this game casually, you normally are advised to get the Lens of Truth. And by getting the Lens of Truth, it reveals like a Poe, and he kind of guides you through the wasteland. But there's actually set triggers that indicate to the game when you're going to void out. And once you kind of know where to go, you don't really need the Poe. Okay, so now we're going to go to do Spirit Temple. But fingers crossed this next trick works, because it saves a good solid 2.5 minutes if going through Spirit Temple normally. It's called Spirit Hover, and we're going to be skipping a good chunk of Spirit Temple and going straight to Mirror Shield. Alright, I think, here we go. Okay, so this is just a way to get there quicker. It's not part of the actual trick itself. Whoops. Okay, that looks good. Alright, we're good. Phew. That Spirit Hover trick is a little bit scary because those Gways will come back indefinitely and can be a really big pain to deal with if you're not careful. But nevertheless, that worked, so we're saving a fairly amount of... Well, we're saving a lot of time, which is good. Now, these Iron Knuckles are also something to make me, like, spooked a little bit. Because Iron Knuckles, when they hit you, they deal 4 hearts, and I've got exactly 4 hearts, so if one hits me, I'm dead. So I still tense up a little bit around them, even after so many years. It's still one of those things I'm just like extra careful with. Oops. So we're just going to proceed through the rest of Spirit Temple now. So we're going to do some pretty interesting things. If you have any donations, Kieran, go for it. No, cool. Okay, so here I'm just gonna get a refill on bombs. I only need one of them because the reason I got those rupees is because right after Spirit Temple we're gonna be buying bombs as like a really quick refill. Otherwise, our explosive count gets a little bit scary for the rest of the run. Sure. Of this category or in general? So, thanks, Softy. So the question in chat was, when I did my very first speed run of this game, what was the time that I got? For the any percent category, which is the very first category I ran, my first time was 27 minutes and I think 15 seconds. My PB in that category now is an 18:44, so that's some improvement, hopefully. When I first ran this category, my PB at the moment is a 2:06:44, 2 hours and 6 minutes. My very first run of this category, 3.5 hours was my very first time. Moral of the story is, you keep at it long enough, guys, you'll improve. So I'm doing something here called Statue Climb. It just skips a nice chunk of Spirit Temple as well. Don't have to get the boss key or anything like that. So just getting a hover here, and then we're going to clip through the door, hopefully. Sweet. Now, there is a trick coming up here with Naburu that you can do, which skips watching the cutscene of Naburu dying. It's approximately a 15-second time save, but I'm not going to do it, because if I screw it up and she kills me, it's a 6.5-minute time loss. So if I'm going for PB runs at home, I'll go for it. But for the sake of a marathon, I really don't want to put us back behind 6.5 minutes, potentially. So it's a trade-off that I'm willing to not go for. Any more questions from them in chat? No? Cool. Naburu Knuckle is just like all the other Iron Knuckles. She does 4 hearts if she hits you. But if we stand in a very specific spot near her left foot and crouch stab up left, they won't hit you. So normally what I would do there, it takes 10... So that's another technique I forgot to explain. There's something called power crouch stabbing in this game, where crouch stabs by default have a damage value of, let's say, 1. If you do an attack before a crouch stab and then only proceed to crouch stab, its attack value will actually be the last attack you did. So if I did a jump slash and then proceed to just crouch stab, all my crouch stabs will have the same attack power as a jump slash. So with that, it's called power crouch stabbing. And with that, it takes 10 crouch stabs to kill Naburu. And to do the skip that I didn't do here, you do 9 crouch stabs and do like something a little bit more jiggery pokery. But like I said, it's a 15-second time save, but potentially a 6.5-minute time loss, which is why I didn't go for it. I do need to take some damage here, actually. I wasn't mindful of my health enough. That's fine. I get a refill on explosives later anyway, so I can afford to sack a few here. It's just I normally calculate the amount of hearts I need based on doing the skip I just did, but because I didn't do it, it threw me off a little bit. Because that skip normally takes 1 heart, which would have put me at 1 heart here. I use a bomb, chip down to half, and that's good, but it's fine. So these 2 witches here, Twin Rover, they can be really, really trolly because of the way they move is quite random. But we do have some ways to manipulate them, but it's not definitely not an exact science. Sometimes they can really screw you over. I've lost runs to this section. Like, I was doing really, really well. They moved in a really, really, really crummy pattern, and it was just... I couldn't save it. I couldn't bring it back. So I try to get to these corners because it gives me a good view of where they're going to be. So you saw me hook shot one of them there, and that's what I meant by like we have some form of control. Is once one of them is about to fire, if the other one's in view, I can quickly hook shot the one that's moving and just keep it in place. Such that when this one fires, it gives me like a clear shot. But I don't exactly have the most steady hands, so sometimes I'll just miss entirely. Sorry, what was that? Oh, I'm in towards something? What was that? Sorry? Sure, yeah, go for it.
Now we have a $5.61 donation from B-Fry. Sorry if I butchered that name. He says, how did you skip DK tree?
Sorry, what was the question?
How did you skip DK tree?
Is that from B-Free? Thanks, B-Free. How did I sleep? Pretty well. Pretty well, actually. Despite getting a 6-hour delay on my flight, I slept pretty well. Never fly Jetstar. That's my only shout-out / advertising that I'll do. Alright, so now that the two witches have fused, the second phase is actually quite straightforward. The first 3 shots and the next 3 shots they do will always be the same color. So if I screwed up this cycle, I can guarantee the next 3 would have been the same color. Cool. And now the witches are done, and we're gonna do another cutscene skip at the end of this. Any questions from chat, Kieran? Why I picked up a fish? Why I got a fish? So the reason I got the fish, someone asked, is because I need to use it to do a trick called Ocarina items, which enables me to play a fake Ocarina, which acts like a normal Ocarina, but has some other different properties, especially in dungeons. Sure, go for it. Sorry? Go for it.
So we have a $3.83 donation from Bakuman. He says, a big hello to Liam and this fantastic event. By the way, I'd like to send a greeting. Joel, I hope you have a great run, and don't complain about D-pads, Magoo. We also have a $5.61 donation from B-Free. He says, hey Mika, I have a question about MST. I'll ask in about 8 or 9 hours, alright? Thank you for the donations.
Thanks, B-Free. The reason B-Free said he'll ask in 8 or 9 hours is because in our speedrunning Discord, we had a new member show up, and he's like, hi everyone, I want to ask some questions about speedrunning, but I'll ask him in about 12 hours if that's okay. And so we're all like, whatever. But then some people in our Discord start to hype it up, like 45 minutes till he asks a question, 30 minutes, what's he going to ask? And he never asked. And we were devastated. We're like, what? He let us down. So ever since then, it's been a big meme. It's like, I want to ask a question, but can you give me 3 weeks? Thanks, B-Free, for the $5. Really appreciate it, man. And yes, you can ask me a question in 8 or 9 hours. I will respond. But just don't be like that one guy in Discord. Okay, so now the Spirit Temple is done. The next dungeon we're going to do is... I should know this. I know it by muscle memory, but I'm trying to think of it. A Water Temple. We're going to do Water Temple next. But we're going to get a couple of more things beforehand. I'm just checking something quickly. We're good. So now we're going to buy some bombs real quick. Because I'm very, very low. And that's why I got that big rupee right before Spirit Temple, is so I could get a full refill for 80. If you want to test your friendship or your relationship, go play Mario Party. It will really test to see how strong you are as a couple or a friend. Okay, so the next thing we're going to get is the Minuet of Forest. And we're going to be getting it once again by skipping a cutscene. So we're not going to watch the entire cutscene, which is always good. So that's called a ground jump. I don't know why that works, but it enables Link to get like a tiny little bunny hop up, which means he can grab that ledge. So now I'm in a ground jump state. No, the ground. It's called this trick's called down A. Once again, I don't know why it's called down A, but I just know it works. Okay, that should work. So I'll basically void out as I trigger the cutscene, hopefully. Sweet. And that enabled me to get the Minuet of Forest without having to watch the cutscene, which is always good. So now the next place we're going to go is Water Temple. That was not what I was meant to do. I'll play this safe, actually. I wasn't meant to take damage there, but... So what I was trying to do is Hess past Mido, who's still there. But... I have actually died there trying to Hess too many times, and I was in a bad position. So we're just going to play it safe and not waste too many bombs, because my explosive count is actually something I've got to be a bit mindful of going forward. So kind of like how we did as Child Link, there's actually a way we can skip this as Adult Link. Oops. Sweet. So normally you'd have to play like Zelda's Lullaby to skip this waterfall, but we got other ways to get through it. You can actually just roll past it. Hover boots help for this. Now there's something here that we're going to do. It's called ladder clip. Hopefully it'll become obvious why it's called ladder clip in just a sec. We just clip through that ladder. Clips us underneath Zora's domain, and we're actually able to hit the Lake Hylia loading zone to get to Lake Hylia, and then we use that to get to Water Temple. Sure. So we clipped underneath Lake Hylia, and this will enable us to get to Water Temple really quick. Normally you would need iron boots to sink to the bottom of Lake Hylia and then hookshot the switch, but this just enables us to skip getting iron boots. If you have donations, Kieran, go ahead. Sure.
We have a $16.65 donation from our very own Aggie. Says, Mika, how to hyperextend Steven Slide? Asking for a friend.
Thanks, Aggie.
We also have a $22 donation from Trip. He says, love your work, Ray. Behave yourself, be free.
Thanks, Trip. Thanks, Aggie.
Thanks, guys.
You guys are awesome. Okay, so now we're in Water Temple. That'll help, actually. Thank you. This dungeon was probably my least favorite growing up, and I think it was like that for a lot of people. But you guys will be glad to know that in a speedrun, we actually skip vast majority of it. And we're going to skip getting the boss key by doing what's called a low height ground clip. Basically just pushes us into the door when we drop from a certain amount of height. So we get the hover again like we did in Spirit Temple. And we're through the door. And now we're going to go fight Morpher. Now, Morpher can be a little bit trolly. I have been trolled by it before, but fingers crossed won't happen this time. But it's a speedrun, anything can happen. But I've been using strats that are fairly safe. In a marathon, it's always advisable to use something a bit safer. But yeah, for those of you who just joined us, hope you're having a good time so far at AvCon 2019. If it's your first one, enjoy it. If it's your repeat, still enjoy it. And always, you know, behave. Always, never hurts to behave. Oh, this is good, actually. Spawned in a really decent spot. Oh dear, that was really close. I almost died there. I didn't get Morpher into the corner enough, but hopefully this time we will. But that was really, really close, because Morpher actually hits you for a heart. Okay, this should be a little bit better. Oh dear gosh. That was a little bit scary. But it worked out, so I'm just going to say it was intentional. That was actually really, really scary. Normally, the best case scenario is you just keep Morpher in the corner and crouch stabbing it, but I think my position was slightly off, so it was trying to bounce back out. That would have been a pretty catastrophic mistake. No, not really. It would have wasted a bit of time, but nothing I can't recover from. But it's always good to not make drastic mistakes like that. So here we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to be skipping the cutscene that's associated when you get the water medallion. This one's actually quite important to skip because it actually, if I screw this up, it actually stops me from doing one trick later on. And I can get around it, but it just wastes a lot of time. Cool. Actually, shoutouts to Neko. He is a Japanese Ocarina of Time speedrunner in our community. He actually found this trick, and he's actually responsible for finding a lot of tricks. I don't know how this guy's brain works, but it's like magic. He has an idea, messes around with the game a bit, and he's like, oh, I found something, guys. And we're like, okay. Like, there was one time someone in my chat was joking with him to find a better setup for a trick that we've had for like years. And he was completely joking, and he disappeared for like an hour, and he's like, oh, I found something. And we're like, dude, we were just joking. But he's like, no, I actually found something. And we're like, all right. You're that good at what you do? May as well. Sure, go for it. Perfect.
We've got a $22 donation from MRBKN8R. He says, I love you, Mika.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you for the donation as well. Oh, he's creeping over, isn't he? I'll get rid of him. Alright, so now that Water Temple is done, we're going to be clipping back into Lake Hylia. Now, if I'd watched the cutscene by accident, it would actually fill up the lake, and it wouldn't prevent me from doing this trick here. And there is ways to save it, but it's good that I can do it. Hopefully this works. Just realized something looks a bit off. We'll see. Yay. Yeah, there we go. Something felt, for some reason, something felt a bit off about that, but maybe it's just me being paranoid. Alright, so we get these Deku Nuts because I need them for later. So the next dungeon we're going to be doing is Jabu, which is a dungeon that's normally only accessible when you're Child Link, because when you're Adult Link, Jabu actually isn't there, like its sprite. But even though its sprite isn't there, the developers still left its loading zone there in a very specific spot, which is what we're going to abuse later. But first, we're going to be getting one more item for the rest of the run, which is Furor's Wind. This sets us up some good shortcuts later on, but we actually need it for one other reason, which I'll explain when we get there. Cool. I might have turned this Hess a little bit too much. Yeah, that's fine. If any of you have questions, just feel free to shout them out, because I've got a bit of time. So what was that? The question is, would I like a chicken McNugget? No thanks. And just as a reminder, we are raising money for Beyond Blue. I think are we almost at 5.5K? We're almost at 5.5K, so thanks a lot everyone so far for donating. And if you got some spare change to spare, that'll be really, really great. Okay, so now we got Furor's Wind. We can now go to Jabu. And like I said, as Adult Link, Jabu's sprite isn't there, but part of its loading zone to get inside Jabu's belly is. And that's what we're going to abuse as well. Now, the setup for getting into Jabu's belly used to be extremely convoluted and complicated, but thanks to that Japanese running I was telling you about, Neko, he found a much, much easier way to get into it. It's like, whatever this guy has to think about, he just finds a much better way of doing things, and any speedrunner will know those people in our community are like a blessing when they find easier ways to do things. Okay. 1, 2, 3. That should be fine, I think. Okay, that should be fine. And we're in. That used to be way more complicated than what I just did there. But a general shout out to all the members in our speedrun community who may not necessarily do speedruns themselves, but they spend a lot of their time looking for glitches, looking for ways to do things better. They're the unsung heroes of our community for sure. And for them, it's just that they're not really interested in doing runs themselves. They just like looking into... It's almost like a science. They like experimenting, they like thinking about things and seeing if we can improve things. So I set Furor's Wind there because it'll just be faster for later. Now, unfortunately, I can't skip this escort quest with Rudo because she is needed to hit certain switches to proceed through Jabu's belly. Well, really, in this case, I only needed to hit one, but it's that one that's actually a bit of a pain. Quick question, what time am I at so far? 1:19? Thank you. 1:19, I don't know, that should be alright I think, hopefully. I've given the guys a 2-hour, 30-minute estimate, and fingers crossed we're going to be way below that. Like I said, my PB in this category is 2 hours and 6 minutes and 44 seconds. I definitely won't PB today, but if I can get a run that's under 2 hours and 10 minutes, I'll be pretty happy. But I should just be happy that I'm A, doing a run, which I am, and finishing it, hopefully. If we have any donations, Power, I'll go for it. Becky? Tech? I think we have some donations.
Hey, what's up, guys? We have a $5.97 donation from Trip. Kia. Also, can we get a happy birthday for Habel?
Happy birthday, Habel. Happy birthday, mate. Thank you, Trip, for the $5 donation. This is the one switch I meant that we need Rudo to hit. Which is ironic because the argument in the game is that he's not heavy enough, but with Rudo combined, he's heavy enough. But I'm Adult Link, so I should be heavy enough, but ah well. You're technically not meant to be in here as Adult Link, so probably just an oversight. Okay, so the reason we're here is because I need to get Boomerang. We need to get Boomerang is because that's one of the only items that can break the tentacles in for Baronet, the final boss. But normally you can't equip Boomerang as Adult Link, but we actually have a way of doing it. And it was actually found not that long ago, I say about a year ago and a bit. Nice. So that's something called Equip Swap, where when you're screen transitioning like that, when you arrive at the item screen, there's one frame you have where you can equip an item that you normally can't equip. It was stumbled upon by complete accident. A few runners looked into it, and then now we've got a brand new glitch. Now, when this got found, like I say, about a year to a year and a half ago, it blew this game, like, it ripped open so many categories because it enabled us to do things that we otherwise weren't able to do. Like, normally if you want to do Jabu's Belly as Adult, you would have to get Boomerang on your B button using something called Bottle Adventure. And that was a huge pain to set up and actually waste a lot of time. But now with Equip Swap, we're able to just equip Boomerang like normal. Another thing that was good about Equip Swap was that it actually allowed us to dupe items. So Para would know this in 100%. Instead of having to collect the 10 big pose legitimately, you can just collect one and dupe the 9. And that saves a lot of time as well. So now we fight Baronet. Fingers crossed. It's a straightforward fight, but it can be pretty technical as well if you don't know what you're doing. So there I was Deku Knighting the jellyfish right before. Well, I was stunning Baronet with a Boomerang right as he unleashed the jellyfish. And then I was Deku Knighting the jellyfish away. So it's a really, really quick fight. There is a way you can actually skip this cutscene. It's a lot more involved though because of Rudo being there. But for the route that I do, it's actually not worth doing that cutscene skip. Yeah, this cutscene exactly doesn't quite work because we've got Adult Link and Child Rudo, but not much you can do about it. Nintendo left it in. Not my fault. Oh, something that I forgot to mention right at the beginning of the run is that I am running on the Wii Virtual Console version. There's actually many versions of this game that you can run on, but the two more popular and more common and most viable versions are the Nintendo 64 and Wii Virtual Console. Each has its pros and cons. The N64 versions, for example, they have earlier builds of the game that weren't available on Virtual Console, and those earlier builds actually allow us to do certain glitches that otherwise are inaccessible on the later builds. And some categories actually take complete advantage of those. But for MST, the category I'm running here, there is actually a N64 equivalent route, because there's one trick that I do at the end that if you did it on the Nintendo 64 version, it would actually crash. So as a result, N64 had to reroute a few things. So now that I'm done with Jabu, the next place we're going to do is Fire Temple. But we're actually not going to complete Fire Temple. We're just going to do a part of it. We're going to save the last half for right at the end, actually. Yep.
Hey guys, we have 3 donations. First one, JRP gave $5.97. He says, Mikami wants fish and chips. Good luck on the run.
Thanks, JRP. We'll get some fish and chips sometime.
And we have a $53.65 donation from CMDRDEML. I don't know how to pronounce that.
CDemel, yeah.
He says, good luck on the run.
Thanks, CMD. Thank you.
And we have another one from Aggie I'm just going to say Aggie. He gives $11.31 saying, Rudo aging backwards? This is the curious case of the Benjamin Button all over again.
It really is. Thank you so much for your donations, guys. Really, really appreciate it. And hope you're enjoying the marathon so far. We've had some really, really good runs. Paris 70-star run a couple of days ago. Really, really hype. We've had some world records have been broken as well in our marathon. So, you know, ASM's a great event, and hopefully we can all be a part of it for many more years to come. So now I'm going to proceed through Fire Temple. It's relatively straightforward. There's not much that we do that is considered quote-unquote a glitch. There is something that's coming up later on, though, so I'll explain it once we get there. But I picked up the Goron's Tunic really, really early on. You don't actually have to get it, because you can get through all of Fire Temple with just 5 hearts. The reason that's a bit scary is that when you don't have the Goron's Tunic, it calculates how much health you have it basically runs you on a timer, and that timer's amount is based on how many hearts you have. So if I have 5 full hearts, each full heart gives you 8 seconds. So I have 40 seconds to traverse through certain sections of this room. And I have done it before, but there's one section towards the end of the run where being on a timer is actually like the most frightening thing. So I choose not to do it. But getting the tunic here only wastes 30 seconds in this route because of some things you have to do as a result of not getting it. So it kind of balances itself out, and it's a time loss I'm willing to take for a bit more consistency. Oops. There's one item I actually need to equip. Okay, so there's something coming up here that's actually considered a glitch now. It's basically called block skip, or switch. We're skipping the switch, actually. Doing a block clip and skipping having to hit the switch, because hitting the switch and watching the cutscene associated with it only wastes a little bit of time. But nevertheless, if we're going to capitalize on any time save, we will. So I kill that torch slug because he can get in the way of the trick somehow. So I just don't want to take that risk. Sweet. Oops. So yeah, the Fire Temple, despite it being it's relatively straightforward, like I said, but if you don't have Goron's Tunic, it's actually a really, really scary section of the run. And in previous iterations of this category, I have lost runs in Fire Temple. Many, many runs in Fire Temple. It's ironically one of my favorite temples to do in a run because, I don't know, you do some really, really cool movement and tricks, but it's still scary nonetheless. Alright, let's see. Sweet. Okay, so I did a Hess there just to get through all those flame walls. Now, setting this for all's win here is actually really, really important. If I didn't set it there and I set it later on, it wastes about 40 seconds, and you won't believe the amount of times I forgot to set it there. I don't know why I keep forgetting there, but thankfully I didn't forget here. Okay, so we're on a really healthy bomb count as well, which is good. Normally, I got really good bomb luck in this run. Sometimes I'm at like 13 bombs here, and it's like really, really scary because being at 13 this late, you can get this flare dancer that I'm killing here can sometimes give you a bomb drop, but if he doesn't, and going into the rest of the run with 13 bombs is actually quite scary because there's no easy refill. Happens every time when I don't need that drop, he gives it to me, and when I need the drop, he doesn't give it. Happens every time. We got any more donations? Cool. So with Fire Temple, I'm actually only going to do it up to Megaton Hammer. It's actually not that much more to go to Vivagia and do the boss, but I actually want to save it for right at the end because there's one trick that we can do right at the end of Vivagia that skips a fair chunk of the game in general, and I want to take advantage of that. So we get the Megaton Hammer, which is good. Yep. So I drop the fish again. So we're just gonna go to do. Now that we've done most of Fire Temple, we're gonna do Forest Temple now. And Forest Temple is the last dungeon we have to do. And then we're gonna do the trials, and then we're gonna come back and finish off Fire Temple. And it may seem like a little bit out of place now, but I'll explain why, and hopefully it'll be obvious by then. Oops, screwed it up. That's okay. Someone's calling me. Tell them to. Okay, good. All right, so there was something I was meant to do just there. Oh dear. This happened. This happened in my last practice run as well. Normally, I hook shot the chest that's across the branch there, and it wastes like a second. But lately, I've been trying to just leap across, but the last two runs I've done, including this one, I've just fallen off like that, so I'm more than happy to cop this time loss here if it means I'm not going to fall off again. All right, there we go. So Forest Temple, ironically, like Deku Tree, is actually one of the more technical sections of this run as well. Mainly because it's like really, really like precise movement that we have to do. And that precise movement, if we screw it up, can actually waste us a lot of time if we're trying to go for something like lower than 2 hours and 5 minutes, I'd say. Oh dear, these Stalfos. These Stalfos have also ended my runs as well. They can just be really, really annoying, like in how they move and how to deal with them. So I took that, like that damage there, taking that was actually quite good. I don't want to be on too much health, so that was nice. So we're doing something called a ledge clip here. Whoops. If there's a wall, if Link's about to grab a ledge and there's a wall behind the ledge or in front of the ledge he's trying to grab, if you press target on the first frame Link grabs the ledge, he clips inside the ledge. That was found by complete accident, but it was a really, really nice discovery because it enabled us to do so much more and skip a massive, massive sections of a lot of speedrun categories, actually. So sometimes with glitch finding, they're either by complete accident or someone has an idea and they kind of just construe things together. So doing a ground jump here again, just to skip through this block. Oh, that was close. I mean, if he hit me, it wouldn't have been the biggest deal, but it would have been slightly annoying, to say the least. Alright, I'm gonna get this heart here. Because if these Stalfos crouch stab you, they deal 2 hearts. And I will need to take damage against one eventually, just to be on minimal health for Phantom Ganon, but I don't want to be on half a heart when I'm facing 2 of them. Again? Thank you. Okay, that was okay. That was a little bit... Gave me a slight heart attack, but that's fine. And I need to be on half a heart as well, ideally, so I'm going to take damage right here. And now we get the fairy bow. And now we're going to skip having to get the boss key in Forest Temple as well. Getting that fairy bow actually puts us in a really, really nice spot. Okay, let's see. My equipped is this and this. That's fine. Alright, now we're gonna fight Phantom Ganon. Any donations? No, cool, just wondering. All right, so Phantom Ganon here. Basically, there'll be two of them in each cycle. The way you can tell which one's the real one is there's two ways. The real one actually has a galloping sound when it approaches you, and the fake one does it. And the other one is the real one's actually a little bit brighter, which is handy. Whoop. Ah, damn it. There we go. Okay. So Phantom's Ganon is down now. And we have one more cutscene skip to do. Well, this is the second last one we have to do. But this one is actually quite important to get in terms of a time save, because if you don't get it, I think it's about a 3-4 minute time loss from memory. It's pretty significant. If I can shield turn properly. Okay, fingers crossed. One more frame. That was a bit scary. Normally I pause a few more times because I need the second frame of when the fence first comes into view, but I just kind of reacted there and it worked out. Probably not the best thing to do, but it worked, so I can't really complain about that too much. All right, so now we're gonna watch the Light Arrows cutscene. This one's like a 5-minute cutscene, so if there's donations, we can go for them. If you have a look, yeah. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to take it because this is going to be one big cutscene. Everyone having a good day so far? That's good. I'm glad you're having a good day. Oh, okay. All good. Just as a reminder again, guys, we are raising money for Beyond Blue. I think have we clipped 5.5K? Oh, so if we can hit 5K, that would be absolutely awesome. I think we're doing better each year, right, for Beyond Blue. So thanks a lot, guys, for everyone who's donated. Really, really appreciate it. Shouts again to ASM for letting me do a run. It's always a blast coming to see the fam again, seeing new faces, old faces. I smell food as well, so I'm really hungry. I had breakfast, so I'm hungry again. Damn it. That's all good. I'll ask someone. Thank you. Oh, he's our other Kiwi, isn't he? Huh? Sorry about that. I was just checking to see what run's coming up after mine. So the next part of this run involves doing what's called the trials. Now, out of all the moments in my speedrun time, I've done MST for a block of time. The trials have been the section of the run that have just ended all my runs the most. Like, let's say I've lost 100 runs in MST. I'd say a good solid 60% of them were because of trials. It's just like the last gatekeeper of getting a good run. If you can get trials down pat, everything else should kind of work out. But because of the route change, Para actually knows this, the last trick we do is insanely scary. So it's like, okay, you feel like you've gone through, but then you got this one last bit. It makes for a really, really cool like speed run, but man, is it scary. Oh, in case you didn't know, by the way, Sheik's actually Zelda. So if you haven't played this game, sorry, spoiler alert. I mean, this game's, what, how many years old now? Like 25? Huh? Too soon. Block what, over the mic? Block what, over the mic? Everything okay? Everything good? Okay. Oops. I can't remember how long this cutscene is in Japanese, but on English it's like a solid 8 minutes or something ridiculous. Another reason why we choose to speedrun this game on the Japanese version. Some hype going over there in the Mario Kart tourney, it looks like. So in Zelda's stupidity, she reveals herself and Ganon's kind of like, ah, gotcha. Okay, now that we're back in action, time to do the trials. Like I said, they're just mini rooms that really just test movement and execution. It can be quite scary. If you screw one up, it wastes a fair bit of time, but hopefully the practice has paid off. Go for it.
So we have a $21.62 donation from Ace Zephyr. He says, good luck on trials, they are hard.
Thanks, Ace.
And I just want to remind the live crowd that we have a donation link in case you are interested in donating to Beyond Blue. That is donate.ausspeedruns.com. So that is AUSspeedruns.com.
Okay, trials, here we go. So each trial is basically themed around like a specific dungeon that we've already done. So the first one we're going to do is Forest Trial. It's kind of themed around Forest Temple. Kind of, not really, but we'll just go with it. So the first thing we need to do, I'll do a safety save here actually, is I need to set up something and I'll explain it as it comes. One more. Thank you. I set up something there called Action Swap. Because I don't have fire arrows or Din's fire, we need to do this Action Swap thing to light this torch. I have no idea why Action Swap works and we fire an arrow that's on fire, but it works out for us here. Now, this is the section I meant by if you were to do it on N64, it would crash. If you equip Deku Stick as adult, it would crash. So N64 actually has a varied route because of that one trick alone. And the N64 route's actually like just as hard. This category is just not easy in general. Thank you. Just collecting the rupees here. Okay, so that's Forest Trial done. Okay, so water trial now. This one is actually a little bit more straightforward, except for one little trick that we do here. We actually clip through this ice that's coming up. Normally you'd have to use a bottle on that blue fire and melt this ice to get through, but we squeeze into the freezer that comes up and clip through this ice. Like that. And just kill them through the ice there. Just saves a lot of time if we do it like that. Oops. Normally you'd need red ice there as well, but Link's Megaton Hammer actually has enough reach to reach through it. So that's always a bonus. That's water trial done. Now the next two trials, Shadow Trial and Fire Trial, are by far the most scary ones. Like I said, because with Fire Trial, Shadow Trial also requires us normally to have like fire arrows or something. But because we don't have fire arrows, we have to do a few extra things to cross certain gaps that otherwise we normally can't cross. Unless you have like long shot or something, in which case it makes it really easy, but it's a bit spooky. So I'm just gonna equip an item here. Gonna do a safety save as well. Okay, should be good.
We have a $15.92 donation from Brennables. Sorry. This run has been a ton of fun to watch. Take my money, dang it.
Thank you, Brennables. I don't know what happened there, but let's try again. I've actually never had that happen to me before, so I'm learning on the fly as well. Let's try that again. Hopefully this works. Okay, cool. I don't know what happened there. Nope. So I crouch stab this torch here just to get a bit of backwards momentum. So one more frame. Thank you. One more. Thank you. Backflip. And drop chew. Whew. I don't need these arrows, actually, I just realized. I can get, there's some right at the end of the trial. I was thinking, do I need those? I'm like, nah, I think I'm good. Okay, that was a little bit of a messy one, but it's one of the more scary ones, so I guess this happens. Okay. Perfect. All right, so let's see. My equipped is this. Another thing with Ocarina of Time speedrunning that not many people take into account, but is actually quite important, is like menuing and your inventory. Like what equips do you have at certain points and how to optimize them. Because it may not seem like much, but for a long category, like let's say 100%, if you optimize your equips, it saves a fair bit of time, right? Like a lot of time, just so you're not fumbling in your menu and pausing and unpausing unnecessarily. It's something I still haven't quite got the hang of, but it all just comes down to planning. Okay, so that's Shadow Trial done. Okay, thank you. I don't know what that announcement was, but I'm sure it was important. So you normally need the, you normally need the gold gauntlets there, the max strength upgrade you can get in order to move that block normally. But someone found a way to clip into that block without having to get the strength upgrade. Oh my goodness, that was scary. Ah! Okay, we're good. So normally you need, like I said, the gold gauntlets in order to move that block, but someone found a way to clip into it without having to get that strength upgrade, and that just saves us a lot of time. Okay, so now that we got all the rupees, the door's open, and now that void there was on purpose. Now, normally you have long shot. You can just hook shot that target and Bob's your uncle. But Bob's not my uncle in this run, so we need to find another way to do it. And thankfully, doing this mega side hop here enables us for this to work. Just, actually. Oops. Magic refill. That should be a health refill. Perfect. I'll fix... Oops. Okay, so that's fire trial done. Now, the next couple of trials are actually... The last two trials are relatively straightforward. They can still be pretty trolly, but they're not as scary as this one here. Those two that I just did there are by far... If my run ever gets to trials, and if I was to lose a run, it'd be there. One of those two generally kills my run, but... That's the nature of speedrunning. Most speedrunners here will know we lose a lot of runs. Our success rate can be very low sometimes. Speedrunning is the hobby of win some but lose a lot. But the some that you win are very satisfying. Very satisfying. So normally you need a strength upgrade to get through there, but... okay, that didn't work. Let's try again. I was meant to do a super slide there, but don't know what happened. Let's try again. Thank you. Don't know why that didn't work the first time. Okay. Whew. Oops, wrong side. So light trial is fairly straightforward. It's just moving through these next two rooms. But something that can happen that, in retrospect, I find quite funny, but at the time I imagine it would have been really frustrating. Once you play Zelda's Lullaby on this Triforce, there's actually a chest that falls, and we had a runner in our community roll into the chest and got crushed by it, and he voided. But when he came back, the chest wasn't there, and he couldn't actually complete the run. So ever since then, I have never rolled there because I don't want it to happen to me. If you have any donations, Barrow, go for it.
We have a $10.95 donation from CMD saying, jump off Watchtower and die % if you have enough time.
Okay, I'll explain. So there's a category that I don't know where the origins stem from, but it's called Jotward, Jump Off the Watchtower and Die. It started as a Twilight Princess meme where people would go to the watchtower, just jump off and die, and that's the end of the run. I don't know why it's a thing, but now it's also an Ocarina of Time because there's a watchtower in Kakariko Village. And the category's objective is just to get to the top of the watchtower, jump off and die. It's about a 3-minute run. If I got time, I could demo it. It's only 3 minutes, but I'd rather use that time as buffer in case someone's other run goes like overtime. Okay, so light trial is done, but thank you for the donation, CMD. Appreciate it, man. And Spirit Trial, we've actually done the vast majority of already. So all I have to, because we visited this section as Child Link, so all I have to do really is just finish it off. Can skip these guys. Even though I don't have fire arrows, you can shoot through the torch to make it act like a fire arrow. Alright, those trials are done. Now, in the old route, what we would do is then climb Ganon's tower, face off the mini-bosses, and then fight Ganondorf, then Ganon. But I didn't finish off Fire Temple for a specific reason, and that is once we finish Fire Temple, we can actually skip all of what I just mentioned, and more, actually. It saves a fair bit of time. Okay, so I'm climbing into here because I'm going to do a save warp, so I'm just going to look at my equips quickly. Cool. So I set a Feroz Wind warp point in Fire Temple, and we're going to be using that to go back to Fire Temple to finish it off. Okay, so we're back, and we're going to be clipping straight to Vavagia from here. So doing another ledge clip, and then just jump slashing through. Now, normally I can just trigger the Vavagia fight cutscene, but we want to do something a little bit extra here. We're going to be doing something called a weird shot, which puts our camera underground, and you'll see why in a sec. Normally these weird shots are best done unbuffered, but I'm still too scared to do them unbuffered after all these years. Sweet. All right, so now that puts our camera underground, and we say hello to Vavagia right there. We only want to hit Vavagia 9 times, because if we hit it more and we start the fight, Vavagia flies up like instantly. And so by doing that, it only keeps Vavagia down to 1 cycle, such that 2 more hits will kill it. And the only reason that works is because, yeah, Vavagia starts underground. And we're like, oh, hi. And technically, when this fight starts, Vavagia actually has 2 active hitboxes. One that pokes out the hole and one that's in that first hole that I'm in front of in like a very specific spot. But we won't need to take advantage of that, thankfully, because of that weird shot. So like I said, with the old route, once trials were done, everything else was pretty stock standard. But there's 2 more tricks we have to do, and they're probably more scary, if not just as scary as trials. So the next trick we're going to do, in the community, it's been dubbed 1080 because of the way Link spins when he does this wrong warp. It looks like he spins exactly 1080 degrees. I don't know who the hell counted that, but I'm just going to go with it. And 1080 will warp us to Ganon's castle, actually. So we don't have to fight Ganondorf. So it's a really, really big chunk of time saved. Saves us from climbing the tower, finding the mini-bosses, fighting Ganondorf, and watching a few other things. Okay, so fingers crossed. Phew! It's not over. There's still one more big trick I gotta do. And this one is just as scary as 1080. This will skip there's one sequence that we have to watch at the end called the collapse skip, and this will skip that. It's another crazy hover, but fingers crossed. Okay. Damn. That's not good, actually. Alright, we'll have to try that again. So, that did not work. So, I'm just trying to contemplate whether or not I want to go for it again. What are my times looking at the moment? 207? Okay, I won't go for it the next time. So, we'll have to fight Vavagia again, but I'm not going to go for it again in case I screw it up again, just in the interest of time. Alright, so we're going to do this section again. But I'm not too unhappy because that's the only big mistake I've done so far, this whole run. So we'll just have to do 1080 again, and then we'll just go down the tower like normal. Damn, I was really hoping that would work the first time, but I think I know exactly why that didn't work as well, so I probably just misjudged. Oops, so we have to do this section again. Well, at least I get to hit Vavagia again, so that's always a bonus. But yeah, if I'd gone that collapse skip, it would have been about... I think it saves about a minute and a half. But now that I've screwed it up once, it doesn't really matter if I go for it again. But I've given them a 2 hour 30 estimate, but just for the interest of time, I won't go for it again. But we're going to fight this guy again and then do the 1080 trick again, so... Thank you. Thanks, Ace. Yeah. Otherwise, I think it puts you in a really weird angle for the Void Warp. Thanks, Ace. Okay, so let's do this again. Alright, so we're gonna do 1080 again, but hopefully we've already done it once, we can do it again. Whoops. It's alright, all good. That was a bit scary, but I think we're good. Okay, round 2. Whoa. Round 3. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened there. Let's try again. All right, third time's the charm. How much time do I have left? 20 minutes? Okay, I can do this in 20 minutes. I just have to do that again. Don't know what happened there, but let's keep going. Thanks, boys. All right. Chin up. Let's go. All right, we're going to do this again. Ah, damn it. All right, round 3. Let's see. Let's hope round 3 works out this time. I mean, if worse comes to worse, I could just climb the tower and fight Ganondorf and Ganon. Probably won't take 20 minutes, but I don't want to do that. It'll take way too much time. Do you have any donations? Cool. Okay, round 3. Here we go. Here we go. Alright, here we go again. I don't know what happened there, actually. Okay, we good, we good. Phew. Okay. I'm not gonna do the, thank you. I'm not gonna do the crazy hover that we did before, just in case it fails again, but there is another way we can go down the tower, so we'll just do that. It involves us dying there, that was intentional, so don't worry. So this is what the hover was meant to skip. It was meant to skip having to do this section. But it's not a huge deal. Should be still under estimate, so I'm happy about that. I was hoping to bring a little bit more time back, but that's sort of these things happen in a speedrun marathon, especially. Okay, okay, so far so good. So this is basically called a void warp. Fingers. Cool. Gave us a smooch. GG. So that there is what's called the kiss, because it looks like Zelda is kissing Link. It's not just for aesthetics, it actually saves a little bit of time, actually, because she nudges you into the loading zone for this section. So it's not just to look cool, it actually saves a little bit of time, but it's not... I think it's like 2 frames or something. We'll take them, right, Midge? So the hover was meant to skip doing that, and also skips this cutscene here where the tower's collapsing. Now, I was in a tournament for another category about a month ago, and the guy I was racing and I were neck and neck, and then how this tower collapses is actually a little bit random, and at this cutscene, he pulled ahead of me, just because of my tower collapsed a bit slower than his. So he was pulling ahead by like, I think, half a second. I won that race in the end by exactly 1 second. We were 1 second apart. It was that close. Everyone was like, how? That was way too close. Huh? Cheater Wii. No, he was using a Wii too. He was using one as well. But it couldn't have gone any closer than that. Like, it literally came down to who got the final slash. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Definitely the closest race I've had. Okay. As long as I don't screw up Ganon, I think we should be fine. I'm just going to swap these equips a bit, because this is a bit awkward. Alright, cool. Alright, so now it's just Ganon. I'm still going to be a little bit careful here, because if Ganon hits me, he does 4 hearts. Yeah, 4. And I've only got like 2 and a bit. If you have donations, go ahead.
We have a $10.95 donation from Bobby Free saying, "Hey Mika, you're doing great. This game is hard. Good luck, hard."
Thank you, thank you. Oh, yeah. Thanks, B Free. Appreciate it, man. All right, let's go. Last bit. So the strat here is just to roll out and roll back under his tail. So he aggroes him, and then you just clip his tail from underneath. Still need to be a little bit careful, like I said, because if he hits me now, I'll die. And I'll have to do that whole down the tower sequence like all over again. So I'll be a little bit careful. I'll back off a bit. Whoa! That was... I actually don't know what happened there. Where does it put me, actually? Okay, I can still do this. I don't have many bombs, but let's see what happens, right? Alright, that I jinxed it. That's alright. Let's try again. Okay. These things happen. That's all I can say. These things happen. Yes, actually no, I'm gonna save those frames again. I wonder if we'll play the collapse cutscene actually, because I've never redone a run when I died to Ganon. I'm actually curious now. Someone told me it doesn't, but I can't remember. It's alright, we'll find out. Alright, this time I'll be extra safe against Ganon. I get a feeling I might skip playing the tower collapsing, but let's find out. Oh, it does skip it. Cool. I'll take it. How much time do I have left? 8 minutes. Alright. Fingers crossed. Huh? Okay, round 2. Round 2. I'll be even extra careful here this time. Hope everyone's having a good day though, by the way. Hope you're enjoying your Saturday so far. Hope you're enjoying the convention as well. Alright, here we go again. Okay, phase 1 is not as scary. It's phase 2 that he can really get you. I was actually only 1 hit away from killing him that last time. Because it takes 4 hits in cycle 2. Alright. We got this, we got this. Alright, this time we're good. This time we're good. Finally. That was a bit of a messy run, but I'm glad we got it done anyways. Thanks a lot everyone for coming to watch. Despite it being messy towards the end, I hope you guys enjoyed that. We got some really good runs coming up over today and tomorrow. Hopefully you guys can stick around for it. And time. That's MST. Thanks guys. Whew. Thanks, guys. We're 5 minutes under estimate, so it's still a win. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. All right, up next is Craigle Bagel doing Spy vs. Spy. And you're going to get a real surprise as well. So please stay around for this one. And once again, guys, we're raising money for Beyond Blue. So if you've got any spare change that you're willing to part with, It's a great cause. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks, Para.